Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sheared podcast. I'm your host, Austin Creed, and my friends, we're going to go through a different show topic today because, I don't normally talk too much about myself. I don't share a lot of personal stories, not because I don't think they're important, but because sometimes they distract. I don't want to pigeonhole the show, I don't want to pigeonhole the topic, but for today's show, I'm going to share a personal story that actually happened to me earlier today. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because it fits the idea for the show today, which is saving money for a rainy day. Because let me tell you something, this morning, so far, it's been a rainy day. You know why? Oh, don't worry, I'll get into why in just a second. But this is an interesting topic around saving money and around keeping yourself afloat when times get tough for you. It could be something as simple as, I don't know, you overstayed your budget, you blew out your budget for that month, or it could be something like your car ran down, or suddenly your rent got jacked up, a family member got sick. It could be anything. But the overall topic of the show today is to get you to understand that rainy days don't often show up on the forecast. It's very hard to plan in advance for rainy days. As in, oh, I know a rainy day is going to come in 3 weeks. No, that doesn't happen. It often hits you right in the moment and you have to decide, well, how am I going to react to this? Do I prepare for this? What do I need to do? We're going to get all into that today. But for those of you who have experienced a really rainy day in your life, maybe you've had these really tough times happen to you out of nowhere, please, I invite you to share your story. Maybe you'll help somebody in a similar situation. Or maybe your situation, even if someone can't relate with it directly, they'll understand the significance of your story and it will help them to learn from your mistakes. And that, in my opinion, is the best way to learn, is from other people's mistakes. Other people's misfortune is the best way to learn if you can. Unfortunately, most of us are hard-headed and we don't learn from other people's mistakes. We have to make it ourselves. And even then, sometimes it's a coin toss as to whether we learn a lesson the first time. So, my friends, that leads me into why this came up today. And, I don't disclose too much about my own personal life because sometimes I get nervous about being really public about what I do in my life. And I recently started to go down a new career field because, the show doesn't always produce all that much money for me. And so I had to find a way to make ends meet. And I was on my way to a meeting this morning, and my passenger window blew out. I'm not joking. I didn't see a rock hit my window. I didn't see something fall off of a truck. Nothing. But my passenger window just blew in on me out of nowhere, and I was on the freeway. Now, that might not seem like a big deal, and originally I didn't think it was a huge deal either until I went to the dealership and I figured out how much it would be to replace it. And it wasn't super cheap, which led me to realize, you know what? Anything can happen to anybody at any time. This is just an unavoidable fact of reality. And now, while it may be something that may seem simple, like what happened to me, problem is, we all have lives. We have ambitions, we have goals, we have plans, we have stuff going on. And so sometimes when something hits us from left field, we're caught off guard. We don't know what to do. We're stuck in this fight or flight adrenaline response that we don't know what to do. We're stuck and we're like, okay, gotta calm down, I gotta handle this, I gotta know what to do, I gotta call this person, gotta look this up, gotta do all these things. You didn't plan it, you had no idea what was gonna happen. But it's really interesting stuff. Because sometimes it's not always bad. Or it starts bad, and then later on you're like, oh, wait a minute. That actually kind of benefited me. I'm not saying it always happens, because frankly, I can't say that. I don't want to give people false hope. But what I will say is I am thankful that I, over time, have put money aside to pay for these expenses. Because you never know when it's going to start raining. It could be a drizzle or it could be a complete downpour. You never know, which is exactly why you need to really be sure you sock that money away, okay? Some people get a jar, some people just open a new bank account. Could be any number of things that you could do. In fact, we're going to look at a video real quick as to maybe you want to try something totally different. Well, we're going to look at an example that maybe you hadn't thought of before on how to save money and sock it away. And you sock it in a way so that you don't spend it on something else, because that's a very important distinction. Let's get into how this gentleman does it.
So I have a friend who's a welder, and I had him make me a donation box. There's like a dragonfly and some jewel pods in there and stuff. And then I was like, can you make me one that doesn't open at all so I can just lock money away in there? So I have this perfectly sealed box that at the end of every day, I take all my random money that's not 20s, I just stuff it in there, forget about it forever. It's probably a couple $1,000s in there. Sometimes I'll drop 100 or 20 in there, just gone forever. And I'll take my ones, put them in this little bad boy, and then my change, and they're there. And this goes to the bank or wherever, bills. But that's how I save a little bit of money here and there. It's weird. Pay for a skate park.
All right. So that's an interesting idea, right? Now, again, I'm not saying you need to follow that exact example, but that goes to show that there are methods out here. If you want to save for a rainy day, it could be as simple as getting one of those old school jugs. Could be as simple as having a little plastic bottle. It could be any number of things that could help you sock away that money. Because at the end of the day, my friends, if you are not saving money for a rainy day, it won't bother you right now. Trust me, it won't. You'll be like, oh, heck, who cares? I don't need to worry about all that. It's not going to happen to me. Well, I can't remember the last time somebody said, oh, don't worry. I know disasters are on the horizon and I am ready for it. Most people, they enjoy the summer and they don't think about the fact that winter is coming. They don't think, oh, suddenly a rainy day I'm going to wake up and there's a rainy day happening outside. Most people don't think that way. Which is why most people are broke. That's why a lot of people file for medical bankruptcy. Why a lot of people, they don't plan for things to go south. They think it's not going to happen. They think that if they just play their cards right, not going to affect them. Let me tell you something right now. That is just not reality. I'm sorry.
Oh, hell no!
That's just not how the world works. I wish I could tell you that it is, but it's just not. And so my encouragement to you would be to learn from my mistakes of thinking that maybe it won't happen to you. And I'm not saying that I have made a mistake where I didn't have money stocked away. I have some, but maybe not as much as I should. And so this has been a reminder for me to keep myself accountable. And I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe I can help one person who listens to this show on a regular basis, or maybe someone who's never heard my show before. Maybe they can benefit from this message. Maybe I can help one person sock away a couple extra dollars for that rainy day when it comes, which it will, and then they can look back and they say, you know what? I'm glad that I did that. I am really glad that I didn't just spend all my money, that I socked some of it away, kept it safe for that rainy day. Now it's pouring and I'm good. I'm not worried about it. I really hope that I can do that for somebody. Because let me tell you, these times happen when they are least, when you least have the time to deal with it. You think that the bad times are going to happen when you're bored, when you got nothing going on. No, my friends, the bad times, the rainy days happen when you have the least amount of time for it, when you're starting something new, when you are just on the precipice of having a huge win. That's usually when the rainy day happens. Usually when you suffer a setback. Now, how you handle the setback could be the difference maker between success and having an additional setback. But my friends, having a reserve, having a last reserve of cash is incredibly important. You never know what's going to happen to you. Could be something that happens to your car, like me, or maybe it could be your house. It could be your job. It could be your small business. It could be your kids. Could be your spouse. Could be anything. Your dog, your cat, your hamster. I don't know what you have, but you never know what's going to happen to you. You know, as someone who likes to plan, it's really, really easy for me to think that, oh, I got everything planned out. I ain't got to worry about anything coming out of left field because I have a contingency plan for everything. And while there's a certain degree of truth to that, you need to understand that even if you have a contingency for a certain situation, you're not always going to see that situation coming right at you. In fact, that's rarely going to happen. So, my friends, I want you to remind yourself that the hard times will often come when you least expect it, or when you're winning, or when you think that you're untouchable. It's often the time when you get hit out of left field, you get sucker punched by life. You never know what's going to happen. So I want you to, if you want to listen to me and learn from my mistakes, my encouragement would be that you learn from this. You say, hey, you know what? Austin, I appreciate that reminder. Thank you so much. I'm going to go do that right now. Now, again, you're free to not do that. That's your choice. But a wise man learns from the mistakes of other people and learns from the lessons of other people's lives. And so I hope that today served as a reminder for you that maybe you've been having too much fun. Maybe you're not planning well enough. That's okay. I don't want you to feel bad because that doesn't do you any good. What does do you good is to take lessons from the present and from the past so that you can learn about the future. That is what I want for you. My friends, I really hope that today is a day where you can look back on in the future and say, I'm glad that I took his advice. I'm glad I listened to him. Not because he was right necessarily, because I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I believe that I'm right on pretty much everything. But not so you could say that I was correct, but so that you could say, I now don't have to worry about additional BS because I had a plan and I built myself in a safety net. That's what I really hope for you. My friends, please, I encourage you to have an emergency fund, to set aside the dollars so that you can avoid disaster. My friends, stay vigilant, stay informed. Hopefully you learned from my mistakes. Hopefully you appreciated the little bit of vulnerability that I was showing on the show today. I appreciate it. I appreciate your viewership. Question everything that comes down. I encourage you to do it because you never know what's going to happen. You never know who's lying to you. My friends, one of the principles, before we leave, when I leave this show, one of the principles of the biblical bachelor lifestyle is to be prepared, is to prepare yourself and to establish yourself as an independent thinker and an independent entity. And I really hope that you can learn from my philosophy, you can learn from your own experiences, and you can form your own personal philosophy. And in doing so, you can avoid disaster and hopefully achieve prosperity. My friends, take care of yourselves. Enjoy your day. I'll let you know if anything, who knows, my day's not over yet. Could be that the rainy day continues to be rainy. We don't know. But I wanted to let you know, give you a little insight into my personal life, let you know a little bit more about me and what's going on in my life, and hopefully you learn from it, and hopefully you can avoid mishaps that happen to befall me. My friends, take care of yourselves. I'm out. Peace.